All right, we're recording. Okay, so hello. I'm going to say everyone because this will be recorded. Today I am here with my wonderful colleagues to talk about the value of a liberal arts education. Obviously, you know, the three of us work at liberal arts institutions, and so we'll give you a few examples of what that looks like. But before we sort of dig in and talk about both our institutions and the liberal arts, I think we should introduce ourselves. So my name is Sarah Colangelo. I'm an admission counselor at Knox College in Galesburg, Illinois. I did graduate from Knox. I chose the liberal arts for myself after a lot of sort of going back and forth and trying to figure out what that even meant. And so I'm excited to talk to you folks today.
I guess I'm up. I'm Natalie Legg, Associate Director of Admission at DePauw University, which is located in Greencastle, Indiana. It's just about 3.5 hours east of St. Louis. I am abnormal in that I didn't attend DePauw, but I did attend a very similar liberal arts institution. So I bleed liberal arts just as much as Sarah and Katie do as well. But happy to be here. Really excited to chat with you guys.
Hello, everyone. My name is Katie, and like Natalie, I did not go to the school that I represent. I'm at Willamette University in Salem, Oregon, so a little further west of the Midwest, but I myself am a native Midwesterner, and I'm very excited to be co-presenting on the value of a liberal arts college and to be sharing a little bit more about Willamette and this wonderful experience with all of you. So thanks so much for coming.
Awesome. Well, and I think that what you'll find as we kind of go through this presentation is that a lot of what you're already doing at TJ is very similar to what you'll be doing at a small liberal arts college. So we'll talk a lot about some of those things, but that sort of you know, that sort of enthusiasm for learning is something that I think you're going to find represented at all of our institutions and in the liberal arts in general. So again, let's start off with 3 examples of some really great small liberal arts colleges. And I am going to
just to go get them.
Just give you kind of a sense of where we're all located. As you can see, as Katie said, a little further west. But, you know, still within a long stone's throw of where you folks are here in Missouri. And if you are watching remotely, if you're from a little bit further away, then this is all kind of in the same place anyway, right? If you're coming from outside the US or you're coming from someplace else, that might be closer to home for you, to be honest. But so yeah, you can kind of get a sense of where we're located. And with that, I will let Natalie take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, Sarah. So to give you guys a little bit general background of who we are as an institution, many liberal arts schools you will find are a little bit on the smaller side. We at DePauw are solely undergraduate. Not only do we have a College of Liberal Arts, but we also have a School of Music that actually hosts only around 120 of our students on campus. But you see a lot of fluidity between the 2 schools. You'll have economics majors and orchestra group. You'll have some musicians and biochemistry classes in the labs and such. So with that, a lot of our students find that they can take all different types of classes. And actually, that's just the liberal arts way, exploring all different areas, all different strengths and weaknesses that will help you in your career journey after your 4 years at a school like Knox, Willamette, and DePauw. But our top 5 most popular majors, you can see are below. Peyton, I did want to point out that computer science being one of our top 10 most popular majors, that does allow for a lot of opportunities within data analytics. So you'll find with liberal arts institutions that sometimes our majors will be a little bit more general and broad, but that you can go deeper and more specific in scope as you go along with that particular major. So you would major in computer science, but then you could specialize in data analytics and get opportunities within paid internships in that particular career area or career field. So a lot of our students at DePauw who are revolving around computer science and that career path look into Microsoft, Amazon, IBM. You might also be interested on the sports side of things, getting involved with our sports teams for Division III athletics. And we do have students that will help with announcing, that will help with scoring. So that could also be a way that you could maybe create your own internship on campus at DePauw, maybe an easier way on how we use and utilize scoring with our different sports teams. But we also have an honors program. One of our 4 honors programs actually is Media Fellows. And Peyton, I think that also might help introduce you into more of the communication side with sports in particular, if you also want to pull that into the data analytics interests that you also have. So the great thing about liberal arts is that you're going to have all different interests and you can mesh them all together with everything that you're involved in, whether it's the academic side, the extracurricular side. For those interested in computer science and technology in general, we also have another honors program not listed here called Information Technology Associates Program, which is your involvement doing a paid internship, and you're going to change every 6 weeks to a new paid internship on campus. So that opens so many more doors to network, to connect and really figure out where you want to go and what you want to do in the technology realm. Some of our other unique experiences at DePauw include off-campus study. That is something that you'll see with a lot of liberal arts institutions, whether it's going and doing that study abroad for a semester, that paid internship, maybe that research off campus. But we at DePauw also have a winter term and May term, which is just 1 to 3 weeks in the months of January and May, where you can do any of those opportunities. Something that could be more focused for your career or a completely different culture, taking a random class that you wouldn't see during a semester. But this also leads into then you're introducing yourself to all different types of people. So another highlight of us is just networking, whether it's with our alumni, staff, faculty across campus, off campus, across the nation, across the world. We want to make sure that you're getting connections to make sure that you are setting yourself up that much more for success after DePauw as well. Now, I know we're kind of going to touch on this a little bit more at the end, but I did just want to briefly touch on our application process. We are on the Common App. We also have our own DePauw application. We're test optional and have been for 3 years, but for students who do want to submit their scores, we super score ACT and SAT, which means we take the top highest subject scores from all of the tests to get your highest average. We do a holistic review, so we're literally looking at every single piece of your application, looking for reasons to admit, not necessarily to deny. And on the financial aid side of things, we do ask that families fill out FAFSA, which has opened up October 1st now, so you can get that in. We might require additional tax documents, just depends on the family situation. And for scholarships this year, we offer between $24,000 and $40,000 in merit scholarship alone, but we do have additional in-house options that revolve around ethics, service, leadership, anything like that. But I will pass the mic on to Sarah to talk a little bit more about Knox.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So, all right, you're going to hear similar things from all of us, which again, I think is something that you want to kind of pay attention to, because when you're looking at small spots like this, it's really just those little things, those little intangible things, as well as the personality that can kind of make the difference in a liberal arts college. So Knox is about 1,300 undergraduate students. We're in Galesburg, Illinois. So from St. Louis, that's about 3.5 hours away. It's a very easy drive. I'm missing doing it as much this year as I normally do, but about 3.5 hours away from St. Louis. We're sort of between Chicago and St. Louis. That's kind of how I'd like to describe where Galesburg is. I describe Galesburg a lot as the micropolitan area around which other small cities converge, right? So it's a small city. It has a courthouse, it has 2 hospitals, so it's big enough to have some of those things, but it's also small enough, you know, to have cute antique shops, local food. When you go into the local organic food store, they know who you are, right? So we have it. And it also feels like a community in a lot of ways, which is nice. I could talk about Galesburg food all day, so I'll stop myself. Knox is Division III for athletic teams. So yes, Peyton, we also have data science, and that's something that you could do and also be involved in athletics if you wanted to. That's really cool. I see a lot of students doing independent study work in athletics. Actually, one of our tour guides is an ed major who recently just did a sports studies independent study, and that's again something that you'll find a lot at liberal arts colleges is folks who are majoring in something and maybe doing some independent work or some research in something else. That's not unusual. What's popular at Knox? I want to emphasize here that just because it's popular or just because it's not on this list of popular things doesn't mean it's not good. I think with these liberal arts colleges, you really have to find your fit and then find the program within it and make sure that's also a fit for you. But things that are popular at Knox, folks often find us for creative writing, right? It's a unique program. It's one that is very, very strong. And when, Knox has a couple of literary magazines on campus. The most recent edition had stickers in it, which is really cool. But anyway, biology is also popular. We have a whale skeleton on campus now. It's very big. It hangs in our sciences building. So with biology, you've got that access to research. Again, something distinct about liberal arts colleges is that oftentimes you're going to have access to research. You're going to have access to things like the skeleton of a whale as an undergraduate in a way that you might not. And a place that isn't more focused on undergraduates. Psychology is popular. Psychology is popular everywhere, but psychology is popular. International relations, Knox is about 19% international. So we do have quite a large international population. Most colleges are very politically aware. Knox is also quite globally aware. And then economics and business is something that people tend to fold into a lot of things that you might not always expect. A couple of unique things about Knox, ways that you might keep it in your brain. Knox has something called immersion terms. You don't have to do one of these, but you can. So Knox is on a trimester system. Students take 3 classes at a time with 3 terms per year, 9 classes a year. 9 times 4 years is 36 classes total to graduate from Knox. It usually takes between 10 to 12 classes to finish a major, but immersion terms, you don't have to do them, but you can. And these are things like clinical psychology term, Green Oaks term, DePauw term, rep term. I like to point out Green Oaks term. It's basically Knox students spend an entire trimester, one of those 10-week terms, living at Knox's 700-acre biological field station. Not my thing, but if it's yours, that's great. And then startup term is kind of like Shark Tank term. Students pitch small business ideas to alumni backers. So they have office space in town. They start up these small businesses. Repertory theater term is great. You just live like you're in a theater company. And put on 2 shows. Every junior and senior at Knox gets $2,000. It's called the Power of Experience Grant. You're going to hear the term experiential learning a lot, especially when you start to look at liberal arts colleges. For some reason, none of us have thought of a more creative term than experiential learning, but just know that every place kind of engineers it differently or sort of provides it to you in a different way. At Knox, it means you can do an internship or a job shadow or study abroad or research or an independent study. But you know that in your junior year, you're going to get $2,000 to do it. A few other things, Knox's Peace Corps preparatory program was the first in the country. We have a Justice Corps program where we partner with our local courthouse, to have students help folks who can't afford legal assistance navigate the legal system. And then College Honors is not a separate honors college. It's just a giant research project you can choose to undertake in your junior and senior year. Couple more same application stuff. I mean, it's the same everywhere, right? You can apply in a few different ways. We'll show you this at the end as well. Again, I want to emphasize what Natalie said. If you're a senior, apply for financial aid now. No matter what, when you're looking at small liberal arts colleges or just liberal arts colleges in general, apply for financial aid. Even if you don't think you're going to get financial aid, apply for financial aid. It's worth it. It shows colleges that you've done everything you can to make things affordable. So if you're thinking about going back and asking for more money, they're going to tell you to apply for the FAFSA first. So just keep these things in mind. But that's just a little bit about Knox. Anytime you apply, you're considered for the same volume of scholarship. And with that, I will turn it over to Katie.
Thanks, Sarah. All right, so Willamette University, we're gonna start with a little pronunciation. It is Willamette, that very flat A. So Willamette University is in the Willamette Valley of Oregon, snuggled up next to the Willamette River. So there's a lot of Willamette going on in Oregon. Salem is the capital city. We're about an hour south of Portland or about 4 hours south of Seattle, if you've ever been out to the Pacific Northwest. I love it out here. As a Midwesterner, I grew up near Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Now you hear it. This is such a fun state to live in, especially if you consider yourself to be at least a little bit outdoorsy. When I work with students who are from out of region, and all of the students that I work with actually are from out of region, that is the first thing that I start with. If you are considering Willamette, if you are considering the Pacific Northwest, you have to at least already be a little bit outdoorsy, or at least willing to explore the option of being a little outdoorsy. This is too beautiful of a region of the country to not try a hike outside, or maybe go camping for the first time, or be really brave and try whitewater rafting. So that's just a little teaser about the region that we are in. A little over 1,600 undergraduate students in the College of Arts and Sciences. There are also 3 graduate schools that support the College of Arts and Sciences. We have a College of Law, Atkinson Graduate School of Management, and a Claremont School of Theology. Like my peers, we are also a Division III school. Next fall, we will have 20 D3 sports. We're adding women's triathlon, which terribly exciting. I had no idea that was a varsity sport until we said we were adding it. So if you identify as a woman and you like to swim, cycle, and run all at the same time, this might be a good place to look. Top 5 most popular majors. It's kind of fun to go through 3 different institutions and see psychology, economics, and biology in all of our top 5. So I'll call out environmental science and politics. Something that is incredibly unique about Willamette University is that we are literally 76 feet from the state capitol building. This is the closest campus to capitol physical relationship that exists in the country. You're not going to find this anywhere else. So if you have an interest in politics, political science, our major is called Politics, Policy, Law, and Ethics, which is a humongous mouthful. But it's a wonderful program if you're interested in policy development, if you want to eventually go to law school, if you're fascinated by the world of politics. Let's face it, who's not right now? So this is a really wonderful school to study politics at, especially when you like being in a small, intimate learning environment. And then environmental science, the Pacific Northwest is just the perfect region to be in and study environmental science. It's such a diverse region. You're going to get a really good look at different types of environments, and so this is a great place to do that. Other things that really stand out about Willamette, 54-year-old partnership with the Tokyo International University in Japan literally opened up the doors to the world for our students. We have over 66 study abroad partnerships now, but this connection with TIU is really special. It brings over 100 students from TIU to Willamette on their school schedule. So they get here in February and they stay through December, which is a backwards school calendar from ours. It's kind of fun, but it brings a lot of international diversity to our campus. So if you decide to be one of the 50% of our students who study abroad internationally, that's great. But if you decide not to, that's okay too, because you're still going to be able to connect with students from Japan and about 19 other countries from around the world. We're an urban campus, being across the street from the state capitol. That should be fairly implicit, but the city of Salem grew up around us. We're actually the oldest university in the far western states, and so Salem grew up around us. It's an urban environment. Salem has about 170,000 people in it, so it's a medium-sized city. But we also have this 305-acre learning and recreation space about 8 miles off campus. So kind of similar to Knox, but we are the only one in our region that has this resource. So students kind of get the best of both. You get the urban environment and you get the rural resource, which is really great, especially for those environmental science and kind of outdoorsy people. We also have a couple of dual degree programs that I want to highlight. 3 of them are partnerships with our own graduate schools. So we have a 6-year Bachelor of Arts Juris Doctorate program, or a 5-year Bachelor of Arts Master of Business Administration program, and a brand new 4-year BS MS, so Bachelor of Science and Master of Science in Data Sciences program. So the 3-3 is a partnership with our law school, and the 3-2 is a partnership with the College of Management. You can take any undergraduate major you want into those dual degree programs. And the value of these dual degree programs is that you get to start your graduate school experience a year earlier. You stay on the same campus for these first 3 programs, law, business, and data sciences. And you get into your chosen career field a year earlier. That also saves you a year on undergraduate tuition. So when we talk about the value of a liberal arts education, if you can save a year of tuition when you're interested in these areas, it's really, really valuable. And then we have partnerships with other institutions for engineering and forestry. So if anyone has an interest in being an engineer, but also really loves history or English, then consider a dual degree, because these are the best types of institutions to be able to hang on to those humanities interests while also pursuing that professional degree track. So the 5-year BA or BS program with engineering, we partner with University of Southern California, Washington University in St. Louis, and Columbia in New York.
I was going to say, how hard is it to get in the 3-2 engineering? How hard would that be to get into the engineering program from Willamette?
From Willamette, as we've only had one student, we've had this partnership for decades. And the only one time that a student was not even advised to pursue the dual degree option, they were missing a couple of requirements.
Okay.
So that was the only reason they were discouraged from applying.
Okay.
But those students who are applying, they're getting in.
And the same thing with these graduate programs, like the data science, the business, the law.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Being admitted from Willamette is very easy. I won't say it's not competitive, but it is easier when you're doing these dual degree programs through these partnerships. They are trusted pathways, and so they carry that partnership weight with them through that admission process. Thank you, Karen, for asking for that clarification. That's appreciated. Just a couple things really quickly about our academic environment. We have academic hearths on campus. And what I love about this learning space is that it provides students direct access to their professors outside the classroom. And that's something that we will talk a little bit about the value of that liberal arts education, is being able to connect directly with your faculty members, developing those close personal relationships with them inside and outside the classroom. And these academic hearths at Willamette create this really beautiful collaborative learning space that's not in a formal classroom. When you're sitting in the physics hearth, every single one of your physics professors is going to have their office within eyesight of those hearth areas. And then because I love talking about the outdoors, now that's what you're going to remember about Willamette. I have to mention our student-run outdoor program. I think every college in the Pacific Northwest has an outdoor program. Ours is the only one that is entirely student-run, which makes our programs very affordable. $5 hikes is very easy to do. And if you want to go skiing, students typically pay about $60 for a ski lift ticket, where I have to pay about $160 because I'm not a student. So getting to do those types of outdoor pursuits through a student-run program makes them super affordable. Also is a really wonderful leadership opportunity. And that's something else that we can talk a little bit about when it comes to being at a small liberal arts college. The competition pools are a lot lower because of our small student bodies. And that means that you have better opportunities to develop your own leadership skills. So I think I will stop rattling on, and we're going to talk a little more broadly about the value of a liberal arts education and experience.
Awesome. Yes, we're about to dive right in to compare core competencies in the liberal arts versus general education requirements you might see at other schools outside of the liberal arts realm. So for us, I know Katie touched on that one-on-one close relationship you'll be creating, not just with one professor, not just those within your major or within your minor. It will be just about every single class that you take, just because the classes average sizes are going to be less than 20. The faculty to student ratio is going to be less than 10-1. Our professors want to make sure that they know your name, that they hear your opinions. So the classes are very much also discussion based. So that will be a huge part of one of the many liberal arts skill sets that you're going to be strengthening throughout your 4 years at DePauw. Really learning how to own your own opinions and shape your own opinions, but also how to speak, how to talk in front of a small group, but also a large group, making sure that you are really figuring out what it means to orally communicate, not just in person, but also even with email, with resumes and cover letters, in your interviews with internships or a job or graduate school, anything like that. But you're going to find also that our graduation requirements are a little bit different in that, yes, we focus on all different types of skill sets. I know we've mentioned that a few times, is that we want to strengthen who you are, not just in your particular major or minor, but we also want to strengthen you so that you are that much more well-rounded when you walk into that graduate school classroom, or when you walk into your first day of that entry-level job, or as you lay down those stepping stones to get to your end career goal. You get those promotions and such because of how many different skill sets that you have strengthened along your 4 years at Willamette, at Knox, at DePauw. So all of these different pieces, the small class sizes, that personal, touch that you're going to get with professors, are all going to be huge cases to help you succeed in life, not just in the academic side of things in your time at school, but also afterwards, where you're going to go in the professional realm. So with those graduation requirements, you're going to be able to play to your strengths within your weaknesses, I like to say. So for example, at DePauw, we have a power, privilege, and diversity requirement where you get to look at all different types of classes that revolve around that and pick which ones that really interest you. Yes, we have a humanities requirement, but you don't have to take just an English class or just a history class. That can also include communications. It could include political science. On the quantitative reasoning side, our Q requirement, some people automatically think, oh, I'm not good at math, I'm not good at the harder sciences. I was one of those people, so I gravitated more towards maybe environmental science, geoscience. Psychology is also another great one. Same with neuroscience. You're really going to be able to find your own way in what classes that really interest you, even if they aren't in your major or your double major or your major and a minor. So all of this exploration is going to lead you to definitely the majors that you want, but you're also going to fall into so many different interests that you realize that you didn't have, which I think can really say a lot about the exploration, about that experiential learning piece. Really finding out who you are as a professional, as an academic, but also as you move forward in the career realm. So with that, those skill sets are really going to come in handy to sell yourself that much more wherever you're going next, after DePauw, after Knox, after Willamette.
Excellent. Well, so I'm so glad that we did talk a little bit more about those pre-professional programs, because I know that we'll talk a little bit more about them here too. And they are something that, I think that sometimes folks think, like, wow, I really want that sort of like pedigreed experience, or that big school name, or like, to wear a hoodie with the name of whatever school it is on it. But like you said, Katie, you put it beautifully, this sort of idea of like, you want to keep that humanities piece, right? That's really valuable when you're looking at careers and things. And being at a liberal arts college, starting at a liberal arts college really does lay a solid foundation if you are going to go on to the next step. So the national average acceptance rate to medical school is about 41%. And if you look at our percentages, we're here, those 80% and 90%, that's a lot higher. And again, the reason is not only do you have this humanities foundation, which is valuable and frankly quite unique as somebody who's applying, to a medical school program, but you also, you know what you like and you know what you're good at. And the likelihood is that you've had a little bit more experience with lab sciences, actually being in a lab, actually like physically spending time, right, working with equipment, like the equipment that you're going to work with in graduate school. You can see law school is the same thing. Look at the national acceptance rate is about 46%. And every single one of us here, who are working at these small liberal arts colleges, all of these colleges have much, much higher acceptance rates to law school. And part of that is, again, your work has a critical eye on it from faculty that is relatively unique, right? Faculty are looking at your work seriously. They are seeing you as a person. They probably know you pretty well as a person. And so they can sort of customize the way they're teaching to you. It's the advantage of going to a slightly smaller institution as well. But liberal arts colleges are designed such that you are learning a lot about a lot of things. And so when you're looking at law schools, you already have sort of this, you're ready for the logic piece. You're ready for the puzzle solving piece. You have a broad-based foundation. You've had to do some classes in literature. You've had to do, you've had to argue things from a lot of different perspectives. And then I think probably most importantly on this list is that graduation rate and that retention rate. If you look at the national and the retention, Katie mentioned value and that sort of idea of value. So if you're going to graduate from one of these places in 4 years or fewer, right, that's pretty valuable. Compared to graduating to a place maybe in 5 and things like that. And so these are important numbers to look at, but I think that you'll find at liberal arts colleges, again, because you have folks who are looking out for you. Faculty who work at places like this choose to work at places like this, right? Could they be working at giant research institutions? Probably, but they've chosen to work at a place where they can work with students and help propel students to that next step. And then again, you can see some of our cooperative programs. So some of these are cooperative programs. I would imagine, so Katie, you've got WashU, Natalie, you've got WashU too, right? For that engineering program. So yeah, there's quite as does Knox. So that one in particular seems to, WashU's engineering program has reached out, I think, to a lot of its small liberal arts college partners in the last couple of years, which has been interesting to see. But there are so many other cooperative programs. Again, if you do want that sort of like big name school experience later on, or if you want to kind of have your track planned out as early as your freshman year, sophomore year, you can start to look toward that. And then again, you can see, sort of on all of our individual portions of the right-hand side of your screen, that placement rate numbers, those numbers about, pursuing meaningful work. That's why you go to a place like this, is so that you can figure out what you like and you can figure out how to do it so that when you're ready to go on to graduate school or to a job, you know what you can do because you've done it. And also you can figure out, you can express that to others, and also if you like it or not. All right, and with that, we'll talk a little bit about the value.
Okay, so I want to start off by acknowledging the fact that all of our institutions have high sticker prices. That's just a sticker price. When you are looking at schools that cost $60 plus, $70 plus, $80 plus $1,000, let me reassure you, nobody pays that much to go to our schools. Nobody. It does not matter if they are a full pay student, which means they could afford to go to any of our colleges and pay full price. It doesn't matter if they could technically not afford our colleges at all. Nobody pays $60,000 or $70,000 to go to any of our schools. And we will talk a little bit about how to access those opportunities to earn financial aid and merit scholarships and competitive scholarships in a few moments. But really briefly, return on an investment and what you get out of what you put in, because everyone does need to expect to put something into their education financially. But think about this. More than 200,000 above the average ROI from other kinds of institutions, including business and engineering schools. That's what you're looking at when you look at a liberal arts institution. When our average ROI, return on investment, from a liberal arts school is over 918,000, almost $1 million in terms of return on investment. And thinking about time to graduation, I know we're running out of time for our recording, so I will touch on this really briefly. Take 4 years to graduate instead of 5. We want you to graduate in 4 years. And as you develop those relationships with your professors, they are going to make sure that you are put on a path from day one to graduate in 4 years. That's what we ultimately want you to do. Students who are graduating from liberal arts institutions genuinely feel better prepared for life after graduation, just life, than students who attended other colleges. We equip you with those real life skills to be prepared. And then more than half of those people who are hiring young graduates, believe that those students are better equipped when they have a broad-based education to help support them in their career paths. As Sarah was kind of touching on, those critical and creative thinking skills, those presentation skills, interpersonal communication skills, those are the skills that employers want to hire. So there is always going to be value in a liberal arts broad-based education. I know we only have a couple moments left, so let's get through the last few slides.
We'll just sort of breeze through these slides really quickly. I think the biggest thing, and I know that Peyton has a question too, so we'll make sure we've got time for that. I think, I don't know that we necessarily need to read through all of this and kind of list it down, but I think that all of these things are things that we've all kind of talked about a little bit, right? You're building relationships, you're in these student-driven communities. You have these different perspectives. Sometimes you're going to be in a small city, sometimes you're going to be in a big city, but you're going to have access to those places and you're going to be able to kind of get the most out of them at a liberal arts college. And you don't have to be a liberal artist to go to a small liberal arts college. You can be any kind of person to have these really immersive learning opportunities, these research opportunities, things like that. Just a little bit about our application deadlines, how our TAST optional policies, the applications that we use, our contact information, and then we can send this as well to TJ so that you have it on file. A little bit about our financial aid. You can get a sense of where we all stand. And here's us. So as you've got questions, please let us know. I'm gonna hold on this slide and then maybe the other one while we take questions. So what do we have?
I'm kind of wondering about, because I got a lot from the presentation, so a lot of my questions were answered. I was just wondering on the diversity on each campus individually.
So at Willamette University, I think I can speak for all of us. Diversity is extraordinarily diverse. There are all types of diversity at our campuses. At Willamette specifically, 60%, this stat was updated recently, I have to keep reminding myself of that, 75% of our students come from out of state. So we are very regionally diverse institution. 31% of our undergraduate students are students of color. 25%, nearly a quarter of our students are Pell eligible. And they are first generation students as well. So they are first in their family to go to college. We also have gender inclusive housing on campus and gender inclusive restrooms on campus. So when you look at When you look at diversity from an ethnicity standpoint, religious standpoint, gender standpoint, geographic standpoint, socioeconomic standpoint, that's where Willamette stands. But liberal arts colleges tend to be a lot more diverse than news may make them appear to be.
Yeah, and I'll say too, I think I worked with a student a couple of years ago who was transferring from a large state institution in the state of California. And it was a student who it was a Korean student, right? So came to the US to learn specifically in the US from Korea. And he was telling me, he was like, I came to the US because I wanted to meet people who were different from me. And I just hang out with other Korean students. Because at these giant institutions, it's so easy to sort of fall back into whatever group you're comfortable with. Whereas I think at liberal arts colleges, you have to get outside your comfort zone in terms of the people that you meet. I also think that we tend to be places that are we kind of verb the diversity, and equity thing in a big way. You have to keep talking about it. You have to have really difficult conversations. Because you're so tight knit with so many people from so many different places. All right, we've got 2 minutes left. Natalie, do you have anything you want to add? And Peyton, do you have any other questions?
I don't think so, because a lot of my questions were answered earlier. So I'm good.
Excellent.
Yeah, you guys said it right. Diversity comes in all shapes and sizes. Our liberal arts institutions, 33% of our students come from the state of Indiana, so very similar. So yeah,
So-
Peyton, thanks for joining us, by the way. We appreciate you.
I'm gonna put this on our college resource website, but I'm also going to send an email to families that they can, to publicize it, to let them know that they can watch it. And I think it was really, really useful. And I think it'll be really useful for our families, especially the juniors. As we start to have our college class, I'm gonna make it required watching. So they'll all get a taste of it, even if they didn't all get it today. And we'll start having college classes for juniors next week when we start our second quarter. So it'll be incredibly useful for them. I really